Well, briefly, you can't do it alone. And that's partly because you are essentially a social being, and what needs to be rectified in you, or me, is our social reactions. For example, socially, most people are fearful of others in some degree. The proverb says, fear of man brings a snare. And you might just think for a moment of how much religion is actually practiced out of the fear of men. So the changes required are essentially social. And this is such an important issue because so many people think that if you're going to concentrate on discipleship and spiritual development, you're going to desert evangelism, outreach, and so on. You know, if you do spiritual transformation in the pattern of Christ, you will not be able to prevent outreach and mission and care for the poor and all of these things. So it can't be done alone. We are essentially social beings, and that's why Jesus lists right along with heart, soul, mind, and strength, love of neighbor. Now, love of neighbor, again, is essentially social. And who is my neighbor? My neighbor is the person next to me. And those are often the people in church with me. And learning to love others in church is a huge project. I sense some recognition. People often ask me, they say, since you're so smart, why are you still in church? And I say to them, well, you know, Christians are supposed to love their enemies, and they'll find a few of those at church. But actually, that's true. You see, the church is a place where when we get in a tight spot, we shouldn't leave. For that reason. Sometimes there are reasons for leaving and going to other work and so on, so don't misunderstand me. But our reason should never be, well, I'm mad at so-and-so. That is the opportunity to work out this dimension. And believe me, is it challenging? And that means that we have to know one another better, get to know one another better. And very often our churches don't allow us to get to know one another very well. So maybe we have to make a special point on this. I've included in my last book, Knowing Christ, a section on how to go to church, because this is so important. The church is a school of love. It's where we go to learn how to love our neighbors, and our neighbors are, first of all, our families. And then we go back into the home and bring the healing that has happened to us in community. And then we step out of the home into our political, our social arena, and live there as persons of truth and love. And that, my dear friends, is what the world is dying for. The real challenge facing not only the church but the world today is whether or not the Christians will become disciples. And in becoming disciples, become Christ-like. And in becoming Christ-like, lead the world by example and power that comes from God and not from human sources. It's absolutely essential to get out of that attitude of attack and withdrawal that I mentioned, and to move into the area of love and coming together.